Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities is pleased to present the Ohio College2Careers Career Development Toolkit. Through the Ohio College2Careers program, OOD partners with Ohio colleges and universities to ensure students with disabilities have the support they need to complete degrees, attain credentials, earn higher wages, and meet the demands of tomorrow's workforce. This toolkit is designed to provide current students and recent graduates with information and practical advice for all stages of the job search and beginning a career. The toolkit contains several chapters that cover a variety of topics related to career success. Chapters include communication skills, social media etiquette, networking, writing a cover letter, creating a resume, job search and applying, behavioral interviewing, virtual interviewing, following up, accepting a position, accommodations and disability disclosure, self-advocacy, telework and hybrid work, maximizing career fairs, and co-ops and internships. Viewers may watch this series from beginning to end or jump to a specific chapter to learn more about a topic. You can also visit the OOD website for more information. Communication skills. Learning how to communicate effectively with your supervisors, coworkers, and customers can help advance your career. Let's get started by talking about written communication. So much of our communication in the workplace is in written form. We communicate via email, chat, and even text messages. Some additional examples of written communication include job applications, cover letters and resumes, and thank you notes sent after an interview. As you can see, strong written communication skills are essential in the workplace. So, what are some tips to follow for written communication? First, remember to be concise. Written communication that is too long or too wordy can actually make your message less clear to the reader. It's also important to remember to use good manners when communicating and writing. Use last names and titles and be sure to avoid slang in your writing. You should also choose your text carefully. Keep in mind that without body language or tone of voice to clue them in about the intent of your message, it might be misunderstood. When writing, always keep in mind the different ways the reader might interpret what you've written. It's also important to proofread your writing before it's sent. A review of your work can ensure there are no spelling or grammar errors and that your point comes across clearly. It's also important to respond to messages in a timely manner. Even if you don't have an answer to the question or request posed to you, it's a great idea to reply to the sender to confirm receipt and let them know when to expect a follow-up from you. Now let's move on to verbal communication. Just like with written, there are a wide variety of ways we communicate verbally. Some examples include networking events and interviewing. Let's share some tips to follow for verbal communication. First, it's critical to allow others a chance to speak when you're having a conversation, and be sure to listen when they do speak. You can also allow your body language to show that you're listening. You can do this by maintaining eye contact, smiling, and nodding when someone else is speaking. It's also important to pay attention to others' body language. Just like you might nod, smile, and lean forward when listening to someone talk about something of interest, others will do that as well when listening to you. And if you notice the other person showing nonverbal signals of needing to leave, such as looking at their watch, take that opportunity to summarize or reflect on what you discussed as a way to close the conversation. Active listening is also important. Simply put, active listening means paying attention to what others are saying and trying to understand why they are saying it. You can repeat or paraphrase what someone else says to you to clarify the message. I statements can also be helpful when communicating. Sharing opinions by stating "I think" or "I feel" can allow you to share ideas with others without sounding accusatory. This also helps you make statements that encourage open dialogue. Attitude is also important at work. Maintaining a positive attitude as much as possible shows supervisors you are flexible and coworkers that you are helpful and friendly. Positive attitudes also help influence others. Empathy, or the ability to understand how others feel, is also an important skill to have. Many work environments involve working closely with other people. Being able to anticipate their emotions can help you stand out at work. Social media etiquette. Job seekers must be increasingly aware of their online presence as their career search begins. In fact, studies show that up to 45% of employers use social networks to screen job candidates, and most recruiters and hiring managers search online information about potential hires. Remember, nothing you post online is merely for your eyes only, even if your profile is private. The task for any professional is to find a balance between personal and professional content. Let's discuss some popular social media platforms and their uses. First, let's talk about Facebook. It's important to be mindful of potentially offensive, inappropriate content on your page. Also, keep in mind that liking content on other pages can reflect on you. Make sure anything you like on Facebook isn't offensive or damaging. LinkedIn is a platform that is exclusively dedicated to professionals and networking. Don't be tempted to post personal content on this platform. Keep your posts strictly professional. Another platform to consider is X or Twitter. This platform can be used to follow CEOs of companies that interest you and stay up on the news. Again, be careful about posting personal, potentially damaging content under the same account if you use your account both personally and professionally. Finally, let's talk about Instagram. Although this may be a successful tool for brand awareness, Instagram is typically for personal content rather than professional branding. When you're ready to create a LinkedIn profile, here are some things to keep in mind. First, your profile picture and background. Your profile picture should look professional and have a solid color background. Check with your Office of Career Services to see if they can help in creating your professional profile picture. Often this is offered for free. Next is your headline. This is your quick introduction to potential employers. Begin with your current title and feel free to add your professional values and experience. The About section is where you can tell potential employers more about yourself. Be sure to include who you are, what you're seeking professionally, and what you bring to the table. And finally, positive posts only. Remember, LinkedIn is not the platform to vent frustrations, especially about your employer. While it's perfectly acceptable to support personal interests, be mindful of interests that may not be appropriate to display on a professional platform. These tips will help you as you create and maintain your online presence. Networking. Now more than ever, networking has become a vital component to learning more about your chosen field and opportunities for advancement. Think of your individual success as a collective effort. Your colleagues, supervisors, and other professionals in your desired field are key members of your networking team. And a great way to get started networking is to have conversations with professionals currently working in your chosen field. This could be as informal as a casual conversation with faculty or a more formal informational interview with an employer. There may even be an opportunity to shadow a current professional to gain real-world understanding of the position while still completing your degree. When creating a professional network, always choose quality over quantity. The relevance of your connections is much more impactful to your career than how many connections you may have. Keep in mind that professional networking should never be confused with building a social media following. Your objective in professional networking is to secure strong connections with other professionals in your field that will allow you to learn best practices, field trends, and organizational cultures. This information will be useful in developing your communication styles with coworkers as well as supervisors. It will also help with identifying ways to contribute based on trends and shared data, as well as opportunities for advancement within the organization. Don't forget about reciprocity. Consider your own knowledge and expertise and be prepared to offer your assistance to others. There are also opportunities to network without leaving your campus. The Career Services Office at your college likely hosts multiple sessions for students to meet and interact with employers throughout the year. Taking advantage of these opportunities can seriously increase your chances of being hired by these employers. Often the person who attends the session at the school is involved in hiring decisions. That gives you the opportunity to get to know them before applying. When it comes to leveraging social media, LinkedIn is one platform for professional networking. LinkedIn offers a basic account at no charge and is a great way to assist you in building and managing a professional network. Here are 4 easy steps to get started on LinkedIn. First, create your profile. This is your professional landing page that tells people who you are and what you do. You'll include your work experiences and achievements here. Next, build your network. LinkedIn will intuitively suggest connections for you based on your school, where you work or live. You can invite members to join your network. Take time to learn about companies. Organizations use LinkedIn to post industry updates, jobs, and other information. Finally, search for careers. You can search for jobs using the search field on the LinkedIn homepage or from the jobs page where you can apply. Effective networking can provide many benefits as you begin your job search and throughout your career. Writing a cover letter. Why should you write a cover letter? The cover letter that accompanies a resume can be as effective as the resume itself. Industry standards suggest resumes should be kept to 1 page. For many candidates, this can limit their ability to share all their marketable skills or details about academic or professional awards and recognition. A well-written cover letter can help. The cover letter is what sets you apart from the competition. It gives you the opportunity to expand on experiences that are merely mentioned as bullet points on the 1-page resume. It can also provide a way to articulate your many skills and talents and allow you to stand out from the competition. Let's discuss the 3 C's of cover letters. First, connect the dots. Set yourself apart by connecting the dots between the information you have about the employer and why you want to work there. This is good information to include in the first paragraph of the body of your letter. Visit the employer's website to research the company's mission statement and values. You can use this information to open your cover letter, explaining to the employer that you are interested in working for them because of something you learned on their website. You can also connect the dots for the employer if your reason for applying to that organization is not obvious. For example, if you're planning to relocate to where the employer is located, that can be mentioned in your cover letter. Next, customize. Align your education and/or work experience with the employer's needs using keywords from the job description. The cover letter is also a great place to include applicable numbers and data. For example, if an employer is searching for someone with a particular experience, you could mention your previous success rate in that area. This will help you stand out. Finally, close strong. Your closing should include a brief recap of relevant skills and how they will be useful in that position. If you're a recent graduate with little to no experience in your chosen field, make sure to highlight transferable skills that will aid in your success in the new role. You can include summer or part-time work experiences, as well as internships, co-ops, or even volunteer work. Lastly, end the letter by thanking them for their consideration and state an interest in discussing the position further. These tips about writing a cover letter will help you stand out from the crowd. Creating a resume. Creating a resume is one of the most important steps in applying for a career. Your resume is often the first impression that an employer has of you. So make sure your resume presents you as positively as possible. The first step in creating a resume is deciding what kind of layout to use. Different layouts work better depending on the position. For example, a resume for an accountant should list work experience and coursework in chronological order in black and white. On the other hand, a resume for a graphic designer might include color and creative designs to show experience in coursework. Be sure to choose fonts that are easy to read. For example, fonts such as Times New Roman or Arial, just to name a few. The font size you use can vary, but generally should be between 10 and 12 points. But it is perfectly fine to use a larger font in bold for your name and headings. The content of your resume is just as important as the format. If you have a lot of work experience related to the position to which you are applying, your resume can focus on that. But if you don't have a lot of work experience, then your resume can focus on unique classwork you have completed, volunteer experiences, and organizations in which you actively participate. Here are some tips when listing work experience, class projects, and volunteer experience. Use action verbs. Start each bullet point with an action verb such as created or assisted. Be sure to pay attention to verb tense. Use present tense verbs for positions that you currently hold and past tense verbs for positions that are not current. Remember to highlight your achievements. These bullet points should detail your duties in the position and help explain your achievements. For example, you could write, contributed to the successful launch of a new product, to demonstrate your achievement in that area. And finally, start with most recent. When writing your resume, list your experience in each section from the most recent to the most distant. Now let's discuss the sections of a resume. Your resume should be divided into sections to flow as smoothly as possible. The layout and spacing of each section should be consistent throughout the resume. Here are examples of sections to use and what to include in each section. The heading. This should include your name, contact information, and links to online information such as your website, LinkedIn profile, and more. Next is the professional summary. This is a few sentence overview that includes experiences, skills, and goals. Following the professional summary will be the education section. This is where you list your major, degree, your school, location, and relevant coursework. Your highest level of education should be listed first. The work experience section includes information about current and past positions, such as the name of the organization, start and end dates listed as month and year, and should include 2 or 3 bullet points about your responsibilities and accomplishments related to the role. If you have any volunteer experience, that should be listed next. Be sure to include the organization's name, start and end dates again listed as month year, and a short summary of your responsibilities. The skills section is where you will list the skills in which you have proficiency or fluency. For example, proficient with Microsoft Office or fluent in Spanish. Finally, list any professional awards, achievements, or certifications earned in the awards section. Now that you know what should be included in your resume, let's talk about some things to avoid. Spelling and grammar mistakes. Be sure to use spelling and grammar checks while you are creating your resume. Once you're done, it's a good idea to have someone review your work to catch any mistakes that might have been missed. Be sure to use an easy-to-read font like Times New Roman or Arial. Don't include personal information such as age, sex, religion, political affiliation, height, weight, race, etc. There's no need to include references on the resume itself. Employers will usually ask for references separately. Try to focus on the most relevant and current information and leave distant past experiences off your resume. You've created your resume, and now it's time to submit to a potential employer. One way to make your resume stand out is to use the position description to highlight your relevant experience. For example, if the position involves working with a budget, include money management experience. Finally, save and submit as a PDF. This ensures that the information you submit remains intact. Prior to sending, review the PDF to ensure the information stays in the right layout. These tips about creating a resume will help your skills and experiences get noticed by employers. Job search and applying. Applying for jobs can take a lot of time. To help with that, you may want to start by considering what is important to you in a career. Things such as your work schedule, tasks, employer, or location, just to name a few. When you've decided what you want in a career, then you can start searching for and applying for positions based on your priorities. When applying for career opportunities, the first step is to search for open careers. If you're interested in working for specific organizations, you might want to go to their websites to search for openings. You can also search for opportunities using a career search engine. Let's talk about some ways to use job search websites. First, when you're searching for positions on job search websites like Indeed, Monster, or Handshake, set filters according to the location, schedule, and other filters to broaden or limit your search. When searching by keywords, you may want to try several different keywords. For example, for a management position, you might search manager, leader, supervisor, or other similar words and phrases. To save time while looking through open positions, you may want to start by looking at the minimum qualifications of the positions in which you are interested. For example, some positions like engineering or marketing might require a certain type of degree. Others might require a certification, such as a certified public accountant, a licensure such as licensed social worker, or years of experience. You may want to reconsider applying if you don't meet these minimums. Instead of applying for the position on the career search website, it's a good idea to look for it on the company's website and apply there. You should also research the company by using the About Us section on their website that explains the work they do. By reviewing the website, you can make a more informed decision about whether you would be interested in working there. Now that you've decided an open position is the right fit for you, it's time to revise your resume and cover letter. You should make any needed revisions based on the position description of each job. For example, include money management experience if the position involves working with a budget. If the position involves speaking with customers, include details about customer service experience you may have. When applying, be sure to submit all the information needed. Employers are unlikely to consider applications that do not include all of the information they request. Use a professional email address, usually an email that consists of some combination of your first and last name is ideal. Include work history information. Applications will often request information about work history, including former employers, their addresses, their phone numbers, supervisors, and reasons for leaving. In the reasons for leaving section, don't state anything negative about your former employer. It's also best to avoid directly stating you were terminated if that was the case. It's a good idea to save the job description. It can be helpful to refer to the original job posting to refer to the position requirements and expectations in case you are called for an interview. If you don't hear from the employer after the posting is removed, you should send a follow-up email to express your continued interest. Finally, keep it concise. When sending follow-up emails or other communication with employers, it's best to stick to the relevant information. These tips will help you as you search for and apply for your next job. Behavioral interviewing. Behavioral interviews are based on the idea that the best indicator of how someone will perform in the future is to look at how they performed in the past. Answering behavioral-based questions can be challenging, but having a structure to frame those answers can help. Here are some suggestions for successful behavioral interviews. Thoroughly read through the job description to determine the skills needed to be successful in that position, and then make a list of your skills that align. Reflect on past work experience and identify examples of where you exhibited the skills needed for the position. Be prepared to connect those past experiences to the current job description as transferable skills. Next, write brief scenarios of those experiences using the STAR method. We'll go in depth on what the STAR method is and how to use it in just a moment. Lastly, be as specific as possible and use real stories from previous work, volunteer, or school activities. The STAR method is an approach to answering behavioral interview questions that uses situation, task, action, and result, or STAR, to help you structure your responses. First, describe a situation where you had to take an action to overcome a challenge. The key is to paint a picture for the interviewer to understand what was going on, where, and why it was important to the organization that it be resolved. Talk about the specific scenario so the interviewer can understand the context of your example without needing every detail. Next, explain the task you were assigned to do or the goal that needed to be accomplished. Then give a detailed account of the actions you took to accomplish the task. This is the time to talk about the specific steps you took and highlight your skills in a way where the interviewer can clearly identify your contributions. It's important to focus on your actions, not the actions of your team, even if the question is on teamwork. Wrap up your answer by outlining the result. The question to answer is, how did your actions or efforts contribute to resolving the situation? This is the part of the answer where you can highlight the outcome of your actions or efforts. You are telling a story about how your actions impacted the organization and any lessons learned along the way. Think of the result as the "and we all lived happily ever after" part of the story. Now let's answer a typical interview question using the STAR method. Tell me about a time you were working with a team to accomplish an assignment and encountered a challenge. For one of my classes, my work group was asked to recruit other students for a research project. We decided to host an event to explain the project and needs to students. On the day of the event, the room was set up. We had snacks and prizes for people who came. Unfortunately, no one attended the event. Everyone in my group was defeated and frustrated that the work they had put into the event seemed to be a waste. I realized I needed to quickly gather the group to refocus. We needed to work together to develop a new plan to increase participation. I facilitated an on-the-spot meeting to develop a new plan. I acknowledged the frustrations of the group and helped them to see the positives. We started early enough that we still had time to develop a new plan. I helped the group develop a plan for each person to connect with 10 students in their social circles within the next 2 days to participate. I scheduled a follow-up meeting to discuss our progress. When the group met for our follow-up meeting, we had 10 students who were willing and committed to participate in the research project. We were able to finish the project successfully and got praise for our results. From this experience, I learned that starting a project early allows time for challenges to be addressed if they occur. With the appropriate preparation, I can still be successful despite encountering challenges. In our example, the applicant was able to give a detailed, thorough, and well-organized answer to the interviewer's question by using the STAR method. We hope you found this information useful as you prepare to interview. Virtual interviewing. In this chapter, we'll be providing general information about virtual interviewing, as well as tips to help you prepare for a virtual interview. Virtual interviews are often the first step in the interviewing process or even the entire interview process. Virtual interviews can occur via several different methods and platforms, including a phone interview, which is with one or more interviewers and no video, an online two-way interview. This type of virtual interview is the closest to an in-person, live, face-to-face interview with one or more interviewers. They're typically conducted on Microsoft Teams, Zoom, or Google Meet, to name a few. An online one-way interview, for example, HireVue. This format includes candidates answering pre-recorded questions via video interview. All candidates receive the same questions with no follow-up questions. And finally, online one-way interview with re-record option. Just like the online one-way interview format, but it allows applicants to re-record their answers. Let's go over some tips for virtual interviews. 24 hours before, and again 30 minutes prior to your interview, be sure to check your internet connection. Your internet connection speed should be fast enough to ensure a smooth and uninterrupted conversation with the interviewer, ideally with both video and audio enabled. If it is not, try moving closer to your router, turning off Wi-Fi on other devices, and asking others to refrain from using Wi-Fi during your interview. If possible, test your connection by having a conversation with someone before your interview. You should also test the software before your interview. Familiarize yourself with the platform you will be using before the day of your interview. If there's a tutorial, take the time to go through it a couple of times. You don't want to find out 5 minutes before your interview starts that you have to download and install software. Prepare your space. Take the time to set up your interview space well before your interview. Plan to use a place that is free of distractions. Make sure you have a plain background and good natural lighting if possible. Make sure the device you are using is charged and the camera is at eye level, so your face is framed in the camera without cutting off the top of your head or bottom of your chin. As you're preparing for your interview, it's a good idea to research the employer's website, including history, mission, and values, so you know how they align with yours. Solidify answers to common interview questions describing how you fit into the organization. Set aside time before your interview to practice. You can ask a family member or friend to help you practice. Remember to keep your answers succinct. 1 or 2 minutes per question is usually enough. You can also record yourself so you can review it and check your lighting and sound. Now that you've prepared for the interview, let's discuss some tips to employ during the interview. First, dress for success. Think business professional. A suit and tie for men and a blouse or suit for women. Try to avoid bright colors. Keep in mind that a white shirt paired with a dark suit may wash out some skin tones. Often, pastel shirts are more flattering. Remember to make eye contact. To mimic eye contact, focus on the webcam, not the screen or your notes. Take a moment to greet the interviewer. To take the place of a handshake, you can nod and say something like, "It's nice to speak with you today." Body language and facial expressions are just as important in virtual interviews as they are during an in-person interview. Be sure to smile. Even on the telephone or in pre-recorded interviews, the interviewer can hear a smile in your voice. Maintain good posture and try not to fidget. You're going for warm and confident. Send a thank you email. Send the email within 24 hours of the interview to thank the interviewer. If this is a pre-recorded interview, you will not have a chance to ask questions, so include those in your email as well. These tips will help you prepare for your next virtual interview. Following up. There are several points in the hiring process where you may want to follow up with the hiring manager of the position for which you are applying. Here are a few reasons to follow up with an employer. To ensure your application was received, to thank an interviewer, or to inquire about hiring decisions after an interview. In nearly all instances, an email is likely the employer's preferred method of communication. When sending these emails, remember to be concise and always remain courteous. Remember to proofread your email for any spelling or grammar mistakes before sending. We recommend using the position title as the subject of any emails you send. After you apply for a position, you may want to follow up with an employer to ensure your application was received. Here are some things to consider. First, who to contact. If the job posting lists contact information for a specific person, then it is likely appropriate to email the person listed. Also think about when to contact. If the job posting lists a date the position will be removed from the website, you should wait until after that date has passed. If the job posting does not list a date the position will be removed from the website, then you should wait at least 1 week after applying. It's just as important to know when not to contact. If a contact person is not listed on the application, or it says not to follow up after applying, you should wait for the employer to contact you. Following up might hurt your chances of being considered for the position. Here's a template that can be used for follow-up emails. I recently applied for position. I am highly interested in the position and feel that I would be a good candidate due to my strengths. Therefore, I wanted to see if there were any updates to your decision timeline. I am attaching my resume and cover letter for your convenience. If there is any other information you would like from me, please feel free to contact me at any time. Next, let's discuss the importance of thank you communication. This can sometimes be the difference in whether a hiring manager decides to hire a candidate or not. What should you keep in mind when writing a thank you note as a follow-up to an interview? First, determine who to contact. Generally, that will be the interviewer or interviewers if it was a panel interview. Thank the interviewer for taking the time to speak with you. When thinking about what to say, the thank you is a good time to reiterate the strengths you feel you would bring to the position and your interest. Send the email within 24 hours of the time you were interviewed for the position. Interviewers will often provide anticipated hiring timelines during the interview. If you haven't heard from them by the date that they intended to make a hiring decision, it's acceptable to send an email to check on the timeline. Here are some things to consider. When to email. Always wait until the date after the interviewer gave for decision making. When considering what to say, you should state your continued interest in the position. Also think about who to contact. You should reach out to the person or people who interviewed you and express your appreciation for the opportunity to interview. Use these tips to know who to follow up with, when to do so, and what to say. Accepting a position. Congratulations, your hard work has paid off. When an organization calls to offer you a position, remember that you have a big decision to make. There are a few things to keep in mind when the employer first calls you. Be enthusiastic. Let the employer know you are excited to work with them. Ask your questions. Try to get answers to any questions you have. It is harder to decide about an offer while you still have questions. Request time to consider. Employers usually expect applicants to need at least a day or two to consider an offer. Sometimes you can take more time than that. Make sure you clarify with the employer how soon they need a decision. Remember to say thank you. Even if the offer does not excite you, always express appreciation. When you are ready to accept a position, make sure you call the employer by the date set in your initial conversation. At this point, the employer might have some tasks for you to complete before you can begin, like a background check or a drug screening. Remember that the employer still has the option to take back a job offer, so it is important to complete these items as quickly as possible. Communicate with the employer if you run into any challenges when completing them. You will also want to make sure the employer provides you with an offer letter that outlines your salary and benefits by the time you start the position. If you are not planning to accept a position, you should call the employer by the date set in your initial conversation. It's important to remain courteous in case you want to work with them in the future. Unless the employer states that the rate of pay is fixed, employers may expect candidates to negotiate their salaries or other benefits. Be upfront with the employer. If salary or another benefit could help you make your decision, then let the employer know that and explain why. Also, research salaries of similar positions. This can help you determine your value to the company. You can use this information when you request a larger salary. When you accept a position, remember to confirm details like start date, dress code, work schedule, and reporting location. This information will help you know what to do when you receive a job offer. Accommodations and disability disclosure. The Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA, is a federal law that protects qualified individuals with disabilities from discrimination in employment. This means that employers cannot make decisions that negatively affect an individual based on disability. To be considered qualified, there are two criteria to consider: minimum requirements and essential functions. The applicant must meet the standards listed or minimum requirements for the job, such as education, experience, skills, or certifications. And the employee must be able to perform the job's essential functions with or without a reasonable accommodation. What is a reasonable accommodation? A reasonable accommodation, or RA, is a change in the way something is customarily done to enable an individual with a disability to access the hiring process, perform the job's essential functions, and/or enjoy the privileges of employment. An RA may be needed to help you participate in the hiring process and perform a job. The employer is required to provide an RA unless it causes a significant difficulty or expense. Consideration of RA is required in all aspects of employment, including the job application process, interviewing, onboarding, and working. Some examples of common RAs include flexible work schedule, accessible workplace, supervisory methods, modified policies, job restructuring, equipment or technology, leave, or remote work. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, or EEOC, provides several examples of RAs. Assistive technology may help you participate in the hiring process, access the work environment, or perform a job task. The Job Accommodation Network has thousands of suggestions for accommodations and assistive technology. Some examples of assistive technology for work-related functions include technology for communicating, such as devices that amplify sound, read text, use voices to record information, and more. Items to magnify information, read aloud, color code information, and others to help with accessing information. Technology to assist with managing workflow by allowing the user to minimize distractions, manage time and stress, set reminders, and more. And aids for gripping items, electronic office supplies, adjustable furniture, and others to help with manipulation. The choice to disclose a disability to an employer belongs to the individual with the disability. You can choose when in your employment to disclose, if at all. To request a reasonable accommodation, though, you will have to disclose your disability to your employer. You can do this in the way that is most comfortable for you, written, verbally, or another way. You should communicate with the person who is able to make decisions about accommodations at your organization. That's usually a member of the human resources team or a manager. That person should only share information about the accommodation with other employees that need to know. When you disclose your disability to request an accommodation, be prepared with ideas. As an example, if you're having trouble focusing due to distractions, you might approach your employer to request moving your workspace. You could simply state, due to a medical condition, I'm having trouble focusing. I think that a workspace in a quieter area would improve the quality of my work. Your employer is not required to implement your proposed accommodation, but they should work with you to find a mutually agreeable solution. Use this information to know if you should disclose your disability, how to do so, and ideas for accommodations that may help you be successful at work. Self-advocacy. What do we mean when we say self-advocacy? Self-advocacy is speaking up for yourself to represent your interests. By doing so, you influence decisions that impact you. To self-advocate, it's important to know yourself, know your needs, and know how to effectively communicate your needs to meet your goals. To advocate for yourself, you'll need to know yourself. To do that, you'll need to be aware of your strengths, weaknesses, and value to the team. Know what led to your success in the past, including tools and techniques, and know your rights and responsibilities, how to communicate what you need, and make decisions about your life. You'll also want to know what you need to be successful. A supportive work environment. Communication. How do you share information with your supervisor and coworkers? Job tasks. Are there accommodations that can assist you in being successful at work? You'll also need to know how to advocate for yourself. Your first step is to prepare. Think of what you want to accomplish. What value do you bring to the organization? Do your research. Ask peers that have similar interests as your own what worked for them. Research accommodation ideas at askjan.org. Once you're ready, schedule a meeting with your supervisor to discuss your request and what you'd like to accomplish. This information will help you as you prepare to advocate for yourself in your workplace. Telework and hybrid work environments. There are unique considerations for employees to be successful working in a hybrid or telework environment. First, establish a physical place to work. Make sure this is a quiet place with minimal distractions and that you have all the necessary equipment and supplies on hand. Also, ensure there is adequate lighting for using a webcam in virtual meetings. Keep a regular schedule. Tailor your schedule in such a way that you do your deeper thinking and harder work at a time of day when your energy is naturally higher. Communicate clearly and often. Workplace communication can be challenging in a hybrid or virtual environment. Be sure to clarify all task expectations and responsibilities. It's important to clearly document the steps you take, even more than you would in an in-person environment. When possible, use virtual interactive collaboration tools to mimic in-person collaboration. It's important to be fully present during all video meetings and make sure to ask questions if you need clarification. To avoid burnout, it's important to maintain boundaries. That means stopping work at the end of the workday and being fully present in your other areas of life. It can help to establish a clear indicator to yourself that the workday is done. That could be physically leaving the areas where you work, changing clothes, or turning off email notifications. This ensures you are not tempted to keep working during non-working hours. When working virtually, it can be challenging to maintain relationships with colleagues. Relationships may not form as naturally as they can in a physical workplace. Be intentional and dedicate time to connect with colleagues. Schedule virtual coffee chats, look for projects that allow you to collaborate, and consider asking questions through a video chat instead of only using email. These are just some of the tips for successful telework and hybrid work. Maximizing career fairs. Every year, professional recruiters attend university career fairs seeking new talent. These events are a great way for employers to draw from a large pool of highly skilled applicants. But remember, the competition can be fierce, especially considering every candidate there is at least pursuing a degree. A great way to achieve maximum exposure is to create a game plan for the career fair using these tips. Do your homework. Find out which employers are participating. Then create a must-see list of employers and do your research ahead of time so you know something about each company on the list. Review open positions on each company's website prior to the fair. Prepare a list of questions you want to ask each recruiter at the event. Study the floor map of the fair so you know where to find your top employers. When you meet recruiters, ask for a business card and follow up within 1 week of the event. If the employer is accepting resumes while at the event, leave them a copy of your resume. Could you state your qualifications, skills, and career goals in the 20 to 30 seconds it takes to ride an elevator with the person who holds your dream job? This is where an elevator pitch can help you quickly and effectively market yourself to employers. Using the following tips, cover each section with one sentence and put them all together to create the perfect pitch for you to use at the next career fair. First, introduce yourself. Start with your name, where you go to school, and what you're studying. Then describe your goals. That could be seeking an internship or permanent job, or a short-term or a long-term goal. Take a moment to brag a little. Mention relevant experience, highlight any awards and recognitions, list skills you gained such as leadership, writing, or any others. Finally, make a plan to follow up. Secure a phone number or email address and offer to send your resume and a letter of interest so you can keep the conversation going. These tips will help you maximize your time at career fairs. Co-ops and internships. Gaining work experience through a co-op or an internship can increase your chances of being hired after graduation. Consider participating in at least one internship or co-op while in college. These temporary positions are usually designed to help students gain real work experience with an organization. Here are some benefits of completing co-ops and internships. They provide a chance to try out a job in your chosen field and make sure it's the right fit. An opportunity to meet professionals in your field. An experience you can include on a resume. Some internships and co-ops offer academic credit, and many employers hire interns for permanent positions once they graduate. Now that we've discussed some of the benefits of completing an internship or co-op, let's move on to the main differences between the two. Internships can be full-time or part-time. They typically last a semester or less. They can be paid or unpaid, and can include a wide variety of positions and employers. Co-ops, on the other hand, are usually full-time. They're intended to last multiple semesters. They're most likely a paid position. While many employers offer co-ops, they are frequently focused on engineering and IT-related positions. Many employers host positions for the summer, but there are still plenty of opportunities in the fall and spring semesters. While employers usually look for students who have completed at least 1 year of school, there are some opportunities for first-year students. Some places to consider searching for an internship or co-op are Career Services Office at your school, Handshake, or other college career search websites, employers' website career pages, LinkedIn, Indeed, or other job search sites. And don't forget your OOD counselor and career development specialist can also help. Now that you've decided that an internship or co-op is right for you, when should you start your search? Many employers post co-ops and internships up to a year before the start of the position, so it's important to start your search and the application process early. Consider expanding the range of your search. Some employers may be able to help with housing assistance if you don't live near their location. Apply to multiple positions that are of interest. Remember, employers may get hundreds of applications for a co-op or internship. Don't give up. These tips will help you as you pursue the internship or co-op of your choice. Thank you for viewing the Ohio College2Careers Career Development Toolkit. We hope that you found the information provided to be helpful as you begin or continue your career search. If you have any questions and are already connected with Ohio College2Careers, feel free to contact your counselor. If you'd like to learn more about Ohio College2Careers, you can email college2, that's the number 2, careers at ood.ohio.gov.